All right, next we have Professor Jeff Strnad. Jeff is a tenured professor at Stanford, specializing in mathematical and technical fields in their relation to law, business, and policy. He is a Ph.D. economist and a lawyer with an undergraduate background in physics. His current research includes several projects focused on DAO governance. And Josh, you're up next. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you. I'm going to run my own timer here. What I'm going to present today is an alternative form of DAO governance, and it's kind of a complex mechanism. I'm going to give a high-level overview, and I just have summary slides. This mechanism applies best to what we call economic DAOs. Those are DAOs where there's two things are true. You have publicly traded governance tokens, and the total value of the tokens reflects the value of the project. That extends, if you think about it for a moment, that extends beyond these kind of for-profit type of DAOs. It's because as long as the tokens reflect the value of what the DAO is trying to do, it can be a not-for-profit enterprise. One thing that's well known to people in this room is the so-called entrenchment problems with DAOs. They claim to be decentralized, but you can gain control by buying a big stake of tokens. And there's the problem of implicit control, which comes about because widely observed is the fact that participation in DAO governance is very low. Often it's like 5%. Often you have a small group of active holders, sometimes associated with the founders, that have effective control. And the other people are passive, and rationally so. Many of them are small holders. Some of them are portfolio investors that even if they have a large holding, they're not going to delve down into individual projects. At the core of this approach is an auction. And so what the auction does is if a bidder comes in and wins the auction, they get control of the DAO, regardless of how many tokens they have, okay? That control is contestable. A new auction can kick them out. And we also make it temporary. It has a limited time period. This obviously gets rid of entrenchment. All of that is gone. All of that entrenchment, founders, they can't entrench themselves, and neither can the people that win the auction. How does the auction work? I'm just going to give you a quick outline. So the person comes in and they're going to bid. The DAO has a certain value at the time they initiate the auction. They're going to make a claim as to what value they can reach. So you have the token value down here. They're going to claim, part of their bid is going to be claiming a certain value that they can reach. The second part of their bid, now that's going to create surplus. This is going to be this surplus. The second part of their claim is they're going to claim part of the surplus. To win the auction, they need to have the maximum amount of unclaimed surplus. That person's going to win the auction. So I have an incentive to claim as high a value as I can to win the auction, and also to minimize the amount of surplus that I'm going to take. And the auction is an English auction. It has some complexity in it, but it has some good properties. First of all, it's a dominant strategy to say what you actually think the value you can reach is, honestly. And what's going to happen is, in the mechanism, is you're going to choose the highest value project, the one that creates the most surplus net of what's going to the people doing the project. That's one thing. The second thing is, it's going to tend to allocate the surplus, the other surplus, to the existing token holders. And that has this powerful effect. If you think back to, if you have a DAO and it has this mechanism built into it, at startup, I'm sitting there as a VC or as another investor. I'm looking forward, I'm saying, hey, I'm going to get, when there's all these innovations, I'm going to get the surplus, or the people I sell my tokens to. It's going to maximize the value up front. Another aspect of the mechanism are deposits. So the winning bidder has to make a deposit with respect to the value, and if they don't reach the value they claim, they're going to lose dollar for dollar the amount by which they fell short. And there's another set of deposits that guard the lower end. If the value goes down under their business plan, they have to pay potentially have to pay the entire amount. And this is important because you give people control, they can do value destruction. They have control, they're going to go out and take a big put position and then tank the DAO. So this prevents that because you pay. Every dollar of value destruction you pay for. We have the deposits. The deposits are implicitly option positions, derivatives, but we don't use actual derivatives because we want to make this code feasible. We can do deposits inside a code. Having counterparties and stuff like that wouldn't work. And in general, the mechanism is designed to be code feasible so it can be implemented in a DAO. There's a lot of other properties. The mechanism defeats so-called empty voting. What's that? That's where I have the votes associated with tokens without having the economic exposure to the tokens. And Buterin warned about this, and there's examples of this, like Steam, where essentially Justin Sun borrowed a lot of tokens from an exchange, got to vote them, but he does not expose the underlying ownership. That is a problem in corporate area, a big problem. It's hard to regulate, hard to detect. Here it gets wiped out because you have to win the auction. Another trait is voting has problems. But we like voting. It has participation. So now what we can do is we can set up a DAO and we can have this voting going on. If we get in trouble with the voting, we can have a temporary period of control from an auction and reset it. So that makes voting, it gives voting greater scope, even though it's, all right, so I'm running out of time here. There's other things, there's regulatory things and things like that, but let's go to questions. So I've hit 5 minutes and 30 seconds here.